Hello everyone, my name is Norem Atiaras. I am TGT Social Science at Kendra Vidyalaya Imphal number 2. Today I am going to teach this part 2 or the second part of the class 8 civics chapter number 1, and the name of the chapter is the Indian Constitution. So let's start the chapter. Okay, before going further into this second part, let's do the revision of the first part. In the first part, we analyze about the two topics. First one, that is the introduction about the Indian Constitution, and the second one, that is the importance of the Constitution. Okay, the first one, in the introduction, we learn about the definition of the Constitution. That is, it is a written document of the rule of a nation. Then in the second topic, regarding the importance of the Constitution, we learn 6 points why we need Constitution. Out of that 6 points, 1 point say that we need Constitution to save us from ourselves. Another one said that we need a Constitution to protect from the misuse of the power. Okay, so like that there are 6 points regarding the importance of Constitution. Now let's go to the part 2 of this chapter. Part 2 we're going to start with the Indian Constitution. Okay, so here we have the brief introduction or the history about the Indian Constitution. Let's see. A group of around 300 people who became the member of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly in the 1946, and who met periodically for the next 3 years to write Indian Constitution. So Indian Constitution is formed, or it was been framed or written by the Constituent Assembly. Okay, and another thing is that this Constituent Assembly was been formed in 1946, and one important thing is that Indian Constitution was finally adopted. Okay, it was finally finished and adopted on the 26th November 1949. Okay, it was adopted on 26th November 1949. And here we have the picture of this Constituent Assembly. Okay, the people are coming for the meeting, and here the person is the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He also played a very important role in the Constituent Assembly. So here we have the second point of the Indian Constitution. Let's see this second point. This member of the Constituent Assembly had a huge task before them. The country was made up of the several different communities who spoke different languages, belonged to the different religion, and had a distinct culture. Okay, so when the Constituent Assembly drafting our constitution, they face a huge difficulty or task. And why they are facing this task is because our country is made up of is made up of a lot of diversity. Okay, the people living in our country, they follow the different religion, they spoke a different language, they have their different culture. Okay, and it is a very difficult that these different people to be bring under the one country or under the one constitution. Okay, because the people who are framing this constitution has to listen to every request or the problem, okay, that is put up by this different community. And here is a picture of the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is regarded as the father of Indian Constitution. Okay, this picture is taken from the NCERT book. Now let's come to the next topic of today's chapter, the key feature of the Indian Constitution. Okay, let's read this first point. After that, I will explain what are the key features of the Indian Constitution. Listed below are the key features of the Indian Constitution. While reading this, keep in mind the above mentioned concern of diversity, unity, social economic reform, and representation that the author of this document were grappling with. Okay, that means this 5, only they mention the 5. Okay, in your class 8 NCERT book they mention the 5 key feature of Indian Constitution. But when we going to read this 5 key feature, we have to keep in mind that when they are making this feature, the constitution assembly, the member of this assembly, they keep in the mind about the what diversity of the people, unity of the people, as well as the socio-economic condition of the people. Okay, so let's see what are that key feature. First one, that is the federalism. Next one is the parliamentary form of the government. Third one is separation of the power. Fourth one is fundamental rights, and the last one, the fifth one, that is the secularism. Okay, and we are going to study all these 5 key features of the Indian Constitution one by one. So let's start with the section number 1, federalism. Okay, let's read the first point, then after that I will explain what is a federalism. Federalism, this refers to the existence of more than one level of government in the country. The meaning of the federalism is what? More than one level of the government. Okay, India is a federal country, so in India we have the more than one level of the government. Okay, let's see, first one, we have the central government. Okay, sometimes we say the Modi government. Okay, so this is the first. Then second, we have the state government. Okay, each state have a separate government, their own government. Every state have their own government. Like in Manipur, we have this BJP-led government. Okay, whose chief minister is N. Biren. Then in Assam also they have their own government. In Punjab also they have their own government, like that. Okay, so each state going to have their government. That is the second level of the government. Okay, first level is the central government, second level is state government. Then in the third level, or we can say it's the third tier, okay, we have the local government. In the local government, we have the Panchayati Raj in the rural area and a municipality in the urban area. Now we have 3 levels of government: 1, 2, or 1, 2, then 3. Okay. Now, as per the definition, what they say is that more than one level of government. That is called what? Federalism. So now India is a what? Federal government. Now India follow the federalism. Okay, because we have now 3 levels of government. In India, we have the government at the state level and at the center. Okay, now we have the center, that is a central government. Okay, this one. Then the state government. And now we have again local government. Panchayati Raj is the third tier of the government. Okay, in the book they only mention the Panchayati Raj, but actually it should be said as the what? Local government, because the Panchayati Raj is only in the rural area. Okay, and in the urban area we're going to have the what? Municipality, this one. So here we finish the part of the federalism, the first key feature of the Indian Constitution. Now let's come to the second key feature, parliamentary form of government. So what is a parliamentary form of government? Let's see from the first point. Parliamentary form of the government. The different tier of the government that you just read about consists of the representative who are elected by the people. The meaning of the parliamentary government means what? Representative. Okay, the representative in the first level or second level of government, or even in the third level of government, are going to be elected by the people. Okay, that means our MLA, minister, okay, MP, or a Pradhan, okay, or all these representative, okay, are going to be elected by the people during the time of the election. Look at the second one. This means that the people of the India have a direct role in the electing their representative. Okay, we people have a direct role during the time of election. The people are going to be contest the election. Okay, and those who contesting election, among them we going to give the vote, and the person who get the maximum number of the vote, they are going to be elected as our representative. Third one, also every citizen of the country, irrespective of his or her social background, can be contest in election. Yes, if you attend the age, okay, the only eligibility to contest the election is that you should be attended that age, minimum age. Okay, if you attended that minimum age, you can contest the election. There is no other eligibility criteria. Okay, like you should be belongs to this religion or that thing, or you should be an educated. Not that kind of the criteria is not mentioned. Okay, in Indian this parliamentary form of the government. Only if you attended that age you can contest the election. But there is a one condition. There is some reserve seat. Okay, some reserve seat for the SC and ST, where the person that going to contest the election, they should be belongs to the that caste group. Say suppose in Chuchampur is reserved for the scheduled tribe. Okay, ST. The person who going to contest the election should belongs to the what? Scheduled tribe. But the general OBC, they can give the vote. Okay, if they are belong to the that constituency of the Chuchampur, they can give the vote. But the contest, those person who going to contest the election should belong to the that caste group. And last one, these representatives are accountable to the people. Yes, they are accountable to the people. Election are held for every 5 years. Okay, that means our representative are going to be selected only for 5 years, and during that 5 years, if they did not perform well, then in the next election they may be lost the contest, and people may select the new leader. And here is a picture of the what, this parliamentary relationship. Okay, where these people, this board people, the voter going to select the legislature, that means representative. Okay, and among the representative they're going to select the leader. Okay, leader like the minister or chief minister, they're going to select among them. Now the next one, the next key feature is a separation of the power. Okay, let's see what is the separation of the power. According to the constitution, there are three organs. Okay, three organs of the government. These are legislature, executive, and the judiciary. Okay, these three organs. Let's see what are they. First one, the legislature, refers to our elected representative. Legislature means those who are elected representative. MLA, MP, they belongs to the legislature. Okay, let me write the MLAs. Okay, then the MPs, they are this representative, elected representative. Okay, they are the legislature. Then the next one, executive, is a small group of the people who are responsible for implementing the law and running the government. Okay, that means here in executive, these are those people who are running the government. Okay, they are the one who are implementing the law, and they are the one who are what, running the government. Then last one, judiciary. Judiciary refers to the system of court in this country. The meaning of the judiciary means the what, the system of the court. And one interesting thing that I mentioned in the last video also, that this legislature, let's look into this picture. Okay, legislature, executive, and judiciary, all three going to have the equal power. Okay, they're going to check each other, and they are sometimes we call this type of the distribution of the power as the horizontal distribution of the power. Okay, where all the three organs, that is legislature, executive, judiciary, all going to have the equal power. And the legislature include the parliament. Okay, both the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Executive include the prime minister and the council of minister, president. Okay, and the judiciary, it include the what, there is a court, a system of courts in our country. Okay, here it is a picture of the Chief Justice of India. Next one, there is the fundamental rights. Okay, this section of the fundamental rights has been referred to as the conscience of the Indian Constitution. Fundamental right therefore protects citizens. Okay, protects citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by the state. That means the meaning of the fundamental right is that a fundamental right is that right. Okay, it should be get by the each and every people or citizen of that country. Okay, and in any condition, this right should be not taken from the people, okay, by the government. Okay, it should be always be given to the people. It cannot be taken by the government. And in India we have the 6 fundamental right. First one, there is right to equality. Second, we have the right to freedom. Third, we have the right against exploitation. And fourth, we have the right to freedom of religion. And fifth, we have the cultural and educational rights. Then the last, we have the right to constitutional remedies. Okay, so we have 6 fundamental rights, okay, that is guaranteed by our constitution. Fifth one, the last key feature of our constitution, that is secularism. A secular country is the one in which the state that does not officially promote any one religion as the state religion. Okay, that means the country did not have any official religion, where the country, the citizen of that country, okay, can follow any kind of a religion. That is called the secularism. Okay, here we have the pictures. So suppose in India we have the Hindu, we have the Muslim, okay, then we have the Christian, we have the Punjabi, that is Sikh, okay, then we have the other religion also, some local religion, okay. All the people, they can practice their own religion, they can promote their own religion. There is no official religion in our country, that we call as the secularism. After that, last we have the conclusion. Let's see the conclusion. The constitution plays a crucial role in laying out ideals that we would like all citizens of the country to adhere to, including the representative that we elect to rule us. Okay, so the conclusion part saying that the constitution play a very important role to each and every citizen, including the people as well as the representative or the government who are ruling us, okay, who have been a part of the government. Okay, so constitution play a very important role. So here we finish this chapter. Thank you everyone.